try CBR and make this next bar exam your last. And if you do, follow the syllabus exactly. That's what I did. I listened to every lecture. I did all the practice questions that I could do and went through all the modules and all the review sessions, and it worked.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And today's story is one that I think will inspire many of you because it is a story of perseverance and determination that ultimately ended up in an extraordinary jump in scores on the UBE. And Judy, congratulations. We are so pleased for you. You passed the New York bar exam.
Oh, thank you. It's such a relief, and I'm so grateful to CBR for the path to success.
Yeah, your journey has been quite an odyssey, hasn't it?
A little bit.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. I started law school at age 57, and I graduated in 2020, took the bar exam during the pandemic after it had just started and was not successful. I took it again, and while I was studying, my best childhood friend died of cancer, as did the administrator at my law school who convinced me to go to law school. And between all of those things and the big box course, I was unsuccessful once again. And I thought, that's it. This just wasn't meant to be. And then I stumbled upon a CBR video about making the next bar exam your last. And I watched it and I was like, could I pass? Should I try again? And I decided to give it a shot. And with CBR's help, it worked.
Well, that's great. And obviously, it's very difficult when tragedy strikes and things happen, and you have to reposition yourself. And for anybody that started and took the bar during COVID, it was a very difficult time, wasn't it?
It sure was. Losing my friend and all was very sad and hard, but I got through it and I'm doing it for her in a way.
Oh, that's wonderful. The other thing that comes up often for people is that they say, I'm too old to take the bar exam, or I've been too old to go to law school. How do you respond to that?
Nonsense. You're never too old. When I started law school, I don't know that I gave the decision the weight that I should have. I was like, I was going to get at school. Why don't I just give this a try? And first semester, I was like, this is the worst mistake I've ever made. But I found out that if I just persevered, I could do as well as the 25-year-olds, and so can anyone else.
Yeah. And we see this all the time that adults come back and they take the exam and they have a different perspective on it. When you took the exam, I think your previous high score you said to me was a 261,
It
which was
was.
good enough to get barred in a couple of states, but not good enough for New York, which needs a 266. When you took this exam in February of 2023, you want to share with folks what your score was?
I got a 293. So I went up 32 points, 7 points on the MBE. And the astonishing thing to me was that my written scores went up 25 points. And that's where I had always struggled in the past was the written part of the test. But I found that the FLA writing style was just a game changer for me.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that writing style. It really allowed you to write more directly about disputes instead of trying to spot issues. Is that a fair way to explain it?
It is. And my career before I went to law school was as a writer, a freelance writer for business and technology publications. And so I was used to writing in a straightforward manner. And I just struggled with Iraq because it's not a natural or normal way to write or read. I did it. I passed law school. I came close on the bar exam. But FLA is just such a more common sense, straightforward way to write, and it made sense to me, and I could just do better with the material using that style.
It's great. Now, you used another one of our tools called photo reading. Is that correct?
I did, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about photo reading, what it is and how you used it and what it worked, how it worked?
Sure. Photo reading is a way to really save time on reading the material. You go through and you do, I think it's 7 or 8 introductory sessions to learn how to do the technique, and it consists of several steps of reviewing the materials and then very quickly going through it. I'm not probably not explaining this very well, but very quickly with going through the material so that reading, say, as an outline, instead of taking 2 or 3 hours, can take you 15 minutes. And at first, I was like, this can't possibly be working. I can't, just by getting into a relaxed state and like scanning the material with my eyes really quickly, I can't possibly be absorbing it. And yet I did. I found myself doing better and better on the multiple choice questions, and my essay scores, my practice essay scores improving. And so even though I was like a huge skeptic at first, it worked.
And that's what people often say to me is, I didn't believe it was going to work, but I gave it a shot and then it started to work. And you don't actually know why it's working. It just starts, doesn't it?
Exactly. And yeah, you finish photo reading something and you don't know if you've looked over something until you try answering the questions and find that you know the answers.
It's pretty weird. Did you use mind maps for note taking or something else?
I use mind maps for in the beginning of each section to do broad outlines. But then when I got to the more detailed sections, just with my learning style, it worked better for me to do more traditional outlining. And what I did was if I got a question right, I wrote down why I got it right. If I got a question wrong, I wrote down why I got it wrong. Because even if I got it right, I didn't always get it right for the right reasons.
Yeah. And so this was a way of activating the photo reading. So you photo read, you watched a lecture, and now you're doing question practice and you're starting to put all that together. How many hours a week would you say you were studying on average leading up to the exam?
I would say 15 to 20. I started 6 months out. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to do 10, 12-hour days because that I found with my previous attempts that that just does not work for me long term. I get burnt out and then I find myself not studying when I should. But with CBR, I never got burned out because I kept it slow and steady.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point. You weren't trying to memorize material, you were learning it.
Exactly. No, yeah, memorization does not work for me. And that's what I found was the focus of the previous bar prep course I took was memorize everything and see what's on the exam and spit it out. But that wasn't the approach with CBR. You were actually learning the material, and you had talked a lot about what was likely to be on the exam, why the examiners structured the exam they do, and that really helped me focus my studies and prepare in a way like where I could learn the things that I thought I really had to know rather than learn everything and see what happens.
Yeah. And another thing that you did that I was really impressed with is that you attended the group coaching calls pretty regularly. I know you worked with one of our group coaches, Tracy Dawson, a lot. Can you talk a little bit about what group coaching meant for you and why it was important in your study process?
It was essential for me. And I think that was one of the things that made a huge difference for me. I went to every one of the group coaching sessions that I could, and I made time for them. If I had a choice between reading an outline or doing group coaching, I would go to the group coaching sessions. It was so helpful for me to hear what questions other people had and what approaches they were taking, where their stumbling blocks were, and then the advice that each of the coaches provided. And each of them had a little different take on things. Tracy was great. You could see that she had been a judge just by the way she addresses the material. And she brings just a vast wealth of experience and knowledge to share. And Amanda, Brianna, and Babka were excellent also. And like I said, each one of them brought a little bit different bit of experience that really helped me see things in a different and you could bring the most detailed question about how to study or something silly seeming about a problem you'd had, and they would have good ideas. Or if they hadn't encountered that particular question, maybe other people attending the session might have something useful to say. I also found June's mindset coaching really helpful. That was something that the previous course I took did not address at all. So I just thought that I was super anxious. That was another reason I think I was unsuccessful previously. I was, like, really anxious whenever I tried to do to write essays or MPTs. And I just thought that's because I don't know enough. And once I memorize more material, I won't be anxious. But June was like, no, it's part of your job to figure out how not to be anxious because then you'll do a better job. So I had it backwards before, and she really helped me with that.
Yeah, she's brilliant, and she's just got such wisdom. All of our group coaches really are talented, and I think you make a good point. They all have slightly different takes on how to go through things, and I know that you availed yourself of that. You mentioned the anxiety. I think you also used some paraliminals, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah, those that was another thing where I was like, "Well, I'm gonna try this. It doesn't I don't know how it's gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a try." And I did use the paraliminals as often as I could.
Not everybody
Sure.
knows what a paraliminal is. Can you explain what they were and how you used them?
I felt like it was a guided meditation,
Yeah.
and there would be ones for different things that you might encounter in your studies, like test anxiety or the how to supercharge your memory, or I'm not
There
I'm
was
like
there was the 10-minute supercharger. Did you use that
yeah,
one just for
I
sort of
did.
revitalizing yourself?
I use that one all the time, like
Yeah,
every
that's one
day.
of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I found that listening to them and it tells you different things in each ear, which apparently engages your brain in a certain way that helps you absorb the information. And even if I was really busy, I found that if I just took 20, 30 minutes, listened to a paraliminal, it just calmed me down and smoothed out my thinking so that I could focus in a much calmer way. And I found them very
I really love the paraliminals, and I'm always excited when a student uses them because it's passive, right? You just put it on, you might even fall asleep, and it's just working in the background. It is engaging the whole mind, and so that's important. So you took advantage of all of these particular tools. You did not get involved in individual coaching, but you had the group coaching and the photo reading, the other tools, and your scores went up like crazy. And I point that out only to say that sometimes people feel like I've got to get one-on-one coaching to be successful. In your case, that wasn't necessary, was it?
no, it would have been nice, but it wasn't in my budget. So I just used the other tools and
Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
charging it.
Your score of 293 is good enough for you to be admitted in over 40 jurisdictions.
Yeah, I
That
was really happy about that.
Yeah, that's like an embarrassment of riches. So I know New York is your primary, but you've got a lot of choices here, don't you?
I certainly do, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about what it was like. New York drops their results via email. There's no advance notice. And then the link that they sent in the email didn't work. And so there was a lot of chaos that first few hours. Tell me what it was like when you finally got on and could see your results.
Oh, it was so stressful. And actually it did work for me the link did work for me the first time I clicked on it. So I got the email and I didn't even think it was my score email because the NCB sends you emails periodically. So I was just like, "Oh, what's this?" They're like, "Click on this link for your score." I was like, "Oh god." So I didn't I was afraid to click on the link, but I did. And the first sentence was, "The NCBA congratulates you on passing the bar exam." And, oh, it was just the best feeling in the world.
That's great. I know your family was pretty excited about this too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
They
Can you tell
sure
me a little
are.
bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 adult daughters and 2 sisters and their families, and they were just all so excited. They've been with me through law school and through not being successful the first time and encouraging me every step of the way, and I'm happy to have succeeded and hopefully be a role model for my daughters. And yeah, they've been my biggest cheerleaders and fans, and I love and appreciate them so much.
Oh, that's awesome. And you are a role model, not only for them, but I'm sure you're going to be a role model for a lot of people when they watch this video. What advice would you give someone who's taken the bar exam and not been successful and is maybe thinking I should just give up and do something else?
I would say give yourself a little time to decompress and think about it, whether this is what you really want. And try CBR and make this next bar exam your last. And if you do, follow the syllabus exactly. That's what I did. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do exactly what the course tells me to do. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid, as it were. And that's what I did. I listened to every lecture. I did all the practice questions that I could do, which was most of them, believe me, and went through all the modules and all the review sessions and gave myself enough time that I didn't have to feel like I had to do it 8 hours a day. So I studied maybe 3 to 5 hours a day for 6 months, more on some days. And I took a day off here and there and it worked.
Fantastic. We're really proud of you. I know that
Thank you.
all the group coaches were just terribly excited when they saw your name on the pass list, and we just wanted to congratulate you. And so we're thrilled for your success. I know that with this score and your ability to be licensed a number of different places, you have so many choices ahead of you. Have you started to sort out what that's going to look like?
My goal has always been to practice public service law. So I'm going to apply to the bar and then hopefully find a legal services organization that works on behalf of indigent people, fighting discrimination, helping people that couldn't otherwise afford an attorney, and
That's
just trying to help
terrific.
make the world a better place in my small way.
Well, you do make the world a better place. You made our world a better place for 6 months while you were here. I know that lots of people in our course really appreciated your participation and comments and help in the group coaching calls. I hope you'll stick around and be part of our community as we go forward. I want to just congratulate you again and thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that there are a lot of people out there who are frustrated that the pass rates are low generally. And for repeat bar takers, they're very low. So you beat all of those odds. Does that make you feel a little special?
I don't know if I'd say special. I just did the work, and that's what it takes. I feel like anybody can do it if they just follow the course and do the
It's terrific. Judy, again, our best wishes to you. Thanks so much for sharing. And to our audience, thank you for being here. We hope that you are as inspired by this as I am. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, and thank you everyone at CBR.